Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, the Dow Jones Calendar of Events on CQG. Today's presenters are Kathy Farley and David Savage from Dow Jones. Welcome, Kathy and David.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Hi, Tom. Thank you.
Great to have both of you here. My name is Tom Hartle. I am CQG's Director of Product Training, and I'll be your host today. Before we get started, I want to mention a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions during the webinar, please enter them into the Q&A section window at any time. We'll have Kathy and David answer the questions at the end of the presentation. If you're viewing the presentation in full screen mode, you can find Q&A in the WebEx toolbar at the top of your screen in the drop-down menu on the far right. If you're having any sound issues, please contact the host via WebEx chat. We'll be recording today's webinar, and it will be posted within 48 hours to the events section on news.cqg.com. All registered attendees will receive an email with a link to the recording. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Kathy Farley and David Savage. Kathy is Director of the Institutional Product Development at Dow Jones. She is the product champion for the Dow Jones Calendar Live product. She has extensive experience in developing and managing financial news products and has played a key role in developing many feed products, including Calendar Live and the Dow Jones Elementized news feed, the first of its kind in the marketplace. She holds an AB degree in biology and economics from Brown University and an MBA from New York University, the Leonard N. Stern School of Business. David is a 40-year veteran of the information services industry. He currently works at Dow Jones and Company as Director of Partners and Alliances. He also has held roles in product management, sales management, and editorial at Dow Jones. David holds a BS degree in International Affairs from Georgetown University and an MBA in Corporate Finance from Pace University. It's my pleasure now to turn the webinar over to you two.
Thank you, Tom, for that kind introduction, and thank you to everyone participating today. First, I'd like to give a big thank you to all the folks at CQG who have done an outstanding job preparing for the presentation. We really appreciate this opportunity to speak with the clients of CQG. Let me talk for a minute about our partnership with CQG. The partnership goes back more than 15 years, and we offer to CQG customers a wide range of real-time news wires covering all asset classes, fixed income, FX, futures, commodities, energy, and equities, and on a global basis. We're producing news for CQG on a 24/7 basis. A few years back, CQG added our live calendar data in order to meet the requirements of futures traders in particular in various global markets. The calendar data has been instrumental in keeping traders informed of major economic events as they happen, and also allows traders to be aware of forthcoming events, and the expected results are then compared with the actual results when they come in real time. A key reason for the strength of our partnership is that both companies are very focused on providing reliable data that you can trust and trade upon, accurate data, and of course timely data as well. As I mentioned, we deliver the content in real time. Kathy will talk about that in more detail, but what it means is that our systems have been engineered to capture, process, and deliver to CQG this economic data in sub-second time frames, so you can trade on it as fast as anybody in the market. CQG has been very good working with us and listening to clients to ensure that the Calendar Live product is meeting the needs of traders. There have been a number of enhancements over the years to ensure that it delivers everything that customers require. One example of that is the addition of focused news from particular regions, including the United States, of course, so that traders interested in specific geographic areas of coverage can quickly go to that particular type of content. Now, for the free trial that we're going to talk about today, it is complimentary access for 60 days. The trial actually began on August 29th and will end on October 28th. The trial is available to all CQG integrated client and CQG QTrader customers, so you should have access to this content already today. CQG will be sending out more information on how to subscribe to Calendar Live sometime in October. And of course, at any time, you may contact your CQG representative for further information on the product. And we've also provided our contact information at the end of the presentation. Please feel free to reach out to me or to Kathy with any questions that you may have. With that, I'll turn it over to Kathy unless there are any immediate questions. And Kathy, I'll let you take it away.
I was going to say I'm having little problems. So now switching slides. Thanks, Dave. It's really great to be here and have the opportunity to speak with everybody today. Our goal for this session is to explain how the Dow Jones Economic Calendar in CQG gives traders a clear, customizable user experience that makes finding, absorbing, and using macroeconomic event content simple, fast, and intuitive. I'll be covering 4 separate areas. I'll start with a general calendar overview, then go to details and scope of the macroeconomic event coverage, give you some information about data collection, how we gather calendar event information, and how we go about updating the underlying data, and then lastly go over some important features of the CQG calendar implementation. So our macroeconomic event coverage is global in nature. In addition to the usual macroeconomic events, the data set also includes national and market holidays, items that are particularly important to people who are trading. Our coverage is across over 50 countries. Not everyone on Earth, but those that impact global and regional markets, and those where the scheduling of events and the collection of data is reasonably accurate. The data we send, or the Dow Jones sends to CQG, is richly tagged, so it has enabled them to implement a variety of mechanisms that allow you to sort, filter, and customize your calendar view. Additionally, the calendar events are associated with Dow Jones news searches, so your users can easily view news content that's published around and about those events, giving you more information about why something happened, or maybe previews of what is anticipated by the WSJ Dow Jones News team prior to an event taking place. Besides giving you a good view of what's happening on a daily basis, you can also use the calendar to plan ahead. We provide data 90 days in advance, and it also can be used as a research tool, as you can view data back 3 to 4 years, back into 2013. As I mentioned, the calendar includes events from over 50 countries. The events cover both data type events and what I refer to as newsy events. The data events range from government statistics such as GDP, balance of trade, employment, etc., to key private surveys such as the surveys from the U.S. Mortgage Bankers Association or the U.S. National Association of Realtors. We also do cover those private surveys from other countries outside the U.S. as well. In all, we cover over 1,000 recurring events and provide real-time data updates for close to 600 of them. The calendar also includes information about non-recurring events. For example, we'll tell you when central bank policy committees will meet, or give you dates and times of when Fed speakers meet, information about the IMF, and important high-level political events. Calendar events are composed of 2 distinct pieces. The basic event information, which I think of as the scaffolding. So this consists of date, time, provider, and the event name, and then the data-specific portion. Because these are distinctly different items, the skills and techniques needed to gather these pieces are different, and as a result, that information is gathered by separate groups. So the basic event info is collated and reviewed by a team of specialists that are dedicated to data gathering, researching, and confirming events information. They source their data in a variety of ways, from exchange announcements, press releases, internet research, trade journals, RSS feeds, and the like. All events are canvassed and confirmed by telephone. Every item is checked back to the source, ensuring that the information is accurate. Additionally, as you know, most data-driven economic releases cover multiple data elements. Some, such as employment or GDP, are collections of scores of elements. Therefore, for every data event covered in the calendar, the Wall Street Journal Dow Jones News team has identified the most important data elements, and those are the ones that you see in the calendar. The values for these data elements are sent from Dow Jones to the CQG calendar using the same technology that we use to update Dow Jones real-time news feeds. Content is collected as close to the source and as quickly as possible. This could mean in person from government lockups, at press conferences, or in other cases from press releases or websites. When applicable, automation is used to speed data gathering and publication. In addition to the actual data, the Wall Street Journal Dow Jones News team surveys economists to gather forecast data. Needless to say, forecasts are limited to the more important events and to the more important releases, but the calendar contains forecast data for a large number of global events. In fact, we do have many clients who rely on these forecasts on a regular basis. In terms of key features of the UI, CQG has incorporated a number of features that make it really easy to customize your calendar view. In this way, you can see just the events that are important to you, yet also have access to things that you might only want to see on an occasional basis. So it's quite easy to filter by region or by group, such as G8, or by country. Additionally, our news team has identified key indicators, meaning those that are important in either a global or regional context, and you can toggle a key selector on and off. So again, making it easy to either get down to a targeted view or see a broader picture of the markets. Another important feature is easy, quick access to Dow Jones event-specific news. Simply click on the Dow Jones icon to the right of event, and you can get targeted search results specific to that event. I find this particular feature really valuable because I don't have to remember codes. It's very easy for me to find things. I can look back and see what happened at the last release, the release before. The archive goes back 400 days, so it really does give you a really good feel for Dow Jones news associated with the events. You can see the flash headlines, the analytic stories, previews, etc. The other key features that that CQG has put into the UI is both navigation and alerting. So as I mentioned, you can look at events 90 days into the future or back to 2013. So they've given you a bunch of familiar ways that you can navigate through to find exactly what you're looking for. There's a, you can pick a date using a calendar, date selector, scroll up and down. Additionally, then it's easy to find your way back to the top day using either the Today link in the calendar, or there's a red Now button at the bottom left of the calendar screen. In terms of alerts, I'd have to say after news, this is really my favorite feature, so that's why I left it to last to talk about. This calendar has some really good alerting mechanisms, and if you use them, it's unlikely you're going to miss another economic event. Alerts can be set for all stages of the event, so pre, during, and post, and they utilize both color and sound. There's a variety of combinations, and that's up to you. You can pick sort of what you like and what helps to get your attention when you need it. For example, you can set things up so you're notified about an event a few minutes before it starts. Again, you can use color or sound to do that. You can make the data fields blink if you want. When the values come out, you can quickly see if the value is above or below a forecasted value. Again, you can use color in a variety of ways to show that. You can also configure a sort of post-event alert to highlight the data for some period of time after the event takes place. So if you lost your attention on the screen for a second, it's easier for you to get back to the particular item that just came out. But I would have to say, of all of them, my favorite feature is the pop-up alert. I don't know about you, but I find I sometimes get distracted just before some data is released because I'm looking at a variety of other things. But the pop-up alert comes out right in front of all of the other windows. So it really keeps me up to date and aware in spite of myself. Again, the pop-up can be color-coded, so it's easy to see how the actual numbers have come out relative to forecast values. Additionally, the pop-up builds, so if a couple of indicators have come out simultaneously, as they frequently tend to do on Thursdays in the US, you can just see everything all in one neat little pop-up. So this ends my segment of the presentation. So I'm now going to turn the floor over to Tom, and he's actually going to demonstrate and put the calendar through its paces for you.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here and show you the calendar events and how to configure it and things like that. So here you can see at the top right-hand corner of my CQG, I see I have the calendar of events already open. I'm expanding it out a little bit here just to make it a little bit bigger for the view. Now to open the calendar of events is you can just find it right here on the More menu, and then this window will open. You can configure the calendar of events, and so what you do is you make sure you've got this as a highlighted window, click on Setup, and then Calendar Preferences. And we have two choices, Display, Notification. So I'm going to first walk you through the display, and then I'm going to come back and talk about a little bit about notifications. So first of all, we have different themes. So you can have, if you like the darkness or the lightness, you can choose your themes. You can pick what columns you want to have. As you can see here, I have them all picked. And you can choose font sizes, depending on what you like for that. And then we have a choice of a country flag, which is what I'm using, or you can use the country ISO code, which is the International Organization for Standardization. It's a two-letter code. I personally like just using the flags. So if I go ahead and go OK, and then now I'm going to walk you through navigating it. As Kathy mentioned, we have a calendar. You can click on this right here. And you can go back to a date, or you can go forward in terms of dates. You can use this to tab up and down. And if you want to come back to today's date, you just click here, and it brings you right back to the current economic events that are still left to go. So we've already had some that came out this morning. And you can just click in the calendar itself, and just using your mouse button, you can scroll. Okay, as you can see, there's a lot of information in here, and you can filter, though. One of the first filters is this Major Indicators filter right here. You click on it, filter by Major Indicators. That removes, say, stock corporate announcements or Fed schedules or Treasury auction kind of information, and it just returns the most important economic events that you'd be interested in. As you mentioned, we can also filter by, if it's orange, that means the Major Events indicator is on. And then we have this where we can filter. So you can filter by groups, or excuse me, regions, which is regions around the world. You can come down here and select which countries you want to filter by. And you come over here and filter by groups. So we have like the G10. You'll see it expands down here, or G8, whichever ones, and you can deselect or select whatever countries you want. And then finally, we have economic indicators, and you can decide which of the U.S. economic indicators you would like to see highlighted. Now I'm going to return and talk a little bit about to the preferences and talk a little bit about notifications. So here we can choose to how we want to color columns. So I'm using the green for actual announcement. The release is above the forecast. And I can choose different colors if I want to. And here it's red if it's below the forecast. And then I can receive pop-up messages. I turn this on. And as Kathy mentioned, this is really nice. Maybe you're caught up in responding to an email or something like that, and there's an economic event. This pop-up, which you'll see in the movie, will open on top of all of your other applications, so nothing will surprise you. You'll be alerted to it. You can turn on sounds, so you can have a sound happen when the event is released. You can have a sound for when the event is above the consensus forecast, and you can choose whatever sounds you want to use. And you can have a different sound for if it's below the forecast, and you can turn all of these on. And then you can have a sound triggered if an event, up to the number of minutes you might like to have before the event comes out. And again, pick a WAV file for that. And here you can color the actual column before an event is released, up to seconds or minutes. You can choose the color you want to use. And you can have it be a progressively brighter color, or you can just have a direct highlight, or you can have the column actually blinking. And the same thing for after the event is released. You can have the columns colored depending on the amount of minutes or seconds you like to have. And you can highlight the background when an event is above or below the forecast, as well as the text. And then finally, the actual versus forecast column, which is this column here. And you can have the same sort of color coding, blinking, or highlighting, or progressive increase in the color. And again, highlight the text when the actual is above or below the forecast, or just the background. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play a short little video of the September 2nd unemployment that came out. So I have a chart here with CQG and my DOM trader, and I have the calendar over here. And so now we're playing. Now the time up here, we've got about 20 seconds to go before the event. You can see my actual versus forecast is flashing, and my actual column is already highlighted. That's per my notifications. And about 5 more seconds, and the number will come out. This is the pop-up. So we had both the trade balance, and here's the unemployment numbers. And we can see how the market's reacting. And we can see how it's flashing here. So as you can see, this is really a great tool for traders who want to be able to trade off of economic numbers. It's a nice, concise display, and I think it's really a nice tool, and I've got mine running all the time. So that's it for my demo. So back to you, David and Kathy.
Tom, thanks very much for that demo. And again, thank you to the audience for your taking part in the session. We're happy to entertain any questions that you may have at this time. And there's a question from John Netto. Tom, perhaps you could answer that question?
We can't bring this data directly out of the calendar of events and paste it into Excel. But if you are enabled for the Dow Jones newsfeed, I think a lot of their articles will have links to, say, the St. Louis Fed or something like that, where you can, or to the labor, to the government pages and things like that, where you can actually get the data directly from, say, the government releasing agency. So no, we can't use Visual Basic for this also. Okay, we have a request to be able to bring this data in. Okay.
John, response to John, another option, of course, is that Dow Jones offers an archive of economic indicators that is available for sale directly from Dow Jones, so you can always reach out to us as another option for getting the historical economic information.
Thank you, David. Do we have any more questions? Okay, well, Kathy, David, thank you very much for really a great webinar. And all you people, we appreciate you taking the time to attend. We mentioned that we'll be, this webinar was recorded, and we'll be sending out links to everyone.
Tom, I think we got an additional question from Robert. I think it's more of a display question. Maybe you can take a look at that.
Okay, the question is, it didn't turn red because it was below the forecast. That was just how I had mine configured. You can, there's a lot of different ways you can configure the calendar of events. And so it would, the moment it comes out, it's going to respond to the configuration. So it would have turned red instantaneously.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of trial and error sometimes.
Okay, we have a question about automated orders based on these outcomes. No, we do not have that available through the calendar of events. Okay, again, Kathy and David, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and thank you everybody for taking the time to join us today.
Great. This concludes our webinar. Have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.